Hey guys, welcome to CALLOUS Invitational round 4. Endill versus Marcop. I'll be your narrator for today. Let's get right into it. We see a Tar lead versus a Zapdos. Eventually, Zapdos is going to get out of there. We're going to see Metagross coming in, take a big rock slide. And looking at that damage, well, obviously we can see no leftovers on the Metagross. Yep. So, straight up we can see offensive, physically offensive Tyranitar with that 17% there. It's a relatively high amount to do to a Metagross and to CB Gross, and see a boom straight away into the other Metagross. So the other thing that we can see is that Metagross isn't like impish or anything. So we can potentially see a team here that's either going to be slightly more fast paced, or it's going to have other ways to potentially trek a DD tar potentially. So we'll see. See the Tyranitar come back in here. Zapdos going to switch on. Okay, so we see one part coming in here. Makes sense to have another rock resist when you're planning on booming CB tar. CB Gross even. See Celebi coming in as we like to from Endill, and it's HP Fire, looking like HP Fire. I'm not sure whether that's offensive or defensive. Actually, it looks offensive. It should be offensive with that kind of damage, shouldn't it? Because think about that, a +1, it's about 50%. It's a little bit offensive. Yeah. We see Drill Peck there does 40%. Okay, so we might see a Leech Seed here. We actually see a Recover, and then Aerodactyl's going to come on in. And that's looking pretty threatening versus Endill. We see a HP Bug there. So it was a crit, and it did 11%. So definitely not HP Fly. We see no hazards go up for Endill. So Endill potentially a little bit scared of a potential Magneton there. I'm not sure I personally would have been. There's a CB Gross. I think that actually just getting up your one layer there helps your tar to break a little bit more, makes you a little bit stronger there. I also think that Peg Zapdos pretty low chance if you see an Aerodactyl. So yeah, so Celebi's a pretty firm switching to that Zapdos. You can also maybe consider, though, that if the Metagross got boomed, how many switch-ins does he have to an Aerodactyl? So he might just be trying to make doubles as many times as he can to get himself back in this game. We'll see how this goes. He's going to make a Focus Punch play here, and in comes Swampert. So he's going to get a nice crit, actually, there, which is really nice for him. We actually see the Tyranitar's leftovers go first. So that's actually going to mean that it's able to stay in here and click an attack versus that Swampert. I assume we'll see an Earthquake here on the Scarm. Yep, we do. So obviously not wanting to click Bug again, the mid-ground. Not sure if it's going to kill the Swampert, so he switches. We see a Starmie coming in here. And looks like it's some kind of it looks like it's some kind of defensive T-Bolt, I think, from that there. We see a switch out here. Think actually, let me just go back and check those rolls. So Drill Peck did 32. I feel like that's a little bit low for damage onto offensive Starmie. Maybe we should just give it a quick calc. Let's do a quick calc and see, because I'm interested to know it's going to affect how we view this game. So this is a Starmie versus a Starmie with Drill Peck. Okay, yeah, so it was actually an offensive Starmie. I was going to say that was a lot of damage for the T-Bolt to do. We're going to see a Psychic here into the Zapdos as we see a Toxic from the Zapdos. Okay, and we also see HP Fire and Psychic from that Celebi. So I think the likelihood that it's going to have Baton Pass to be able to make good use, to be able to waste the turn that Zapdos took to click Toxic there, pretty low. And he's actually just going to Psychic again. I think that makes sense when you've got an off me. Pretty good play there. Swampert's going to come back in. It's going to be able to get even more HP, and it's actually going to double straight back to the Zapdos. I think that's a really strong play from Marcop, actually. I like that a lot. I really do like that. Yeah, that's a really nice play from him. It's just sort of keeping up offensive pressure, and also allowed him to just get 6% back on that Swampert. It's actually put the Swampert into a position where it's just healthy enough for that T-Tar. It's not going to be able to switch directly into it, but it is now going to live in EQ as long as no spikes are going up. And so far they haven't, and he's not letting them go up. So he is allowing that Pert to just heal up just out of range of T-Tar, which I like a lot. He's going to get a nice crit there, and then he's going to go straight to Aero. Endill still hasn't clicked a Leech Seed. He hasn't really had a chance there because that crit T-Bolt obviously did quite a lot. We're going to see a Rock Slide here. Nice play from Marcop. Maybe cottoning onto the fact now that Endill probably doesn't have too great of a switch into these Rock Slides. Yeah, and that Scarm's going to go down after only getting one layer. And that's going to put Endill and Marcop into weird positions here. We're going to see a Scarm resack, and I assume we're going to see the Swampert coming in. We actually see the Tar coming in here, and it's going to be no leftovers. So we're looking at a DD Tar. It's going to get off a nice Quake on the other Tar, and it's going to be quick enough to get off another Earthquake here. We've got to assume that Endill has another... Oh, okay. So, yeah. So I should have paused there just before we started that turn. I didn't know what was going to happen there necessarily, so I didn't actually pause it. But what we saw was that so Endill's team has only ground immune Scar at the moment, and generally speaking, even when you've got things like Celebi and Starmie, you do really want another immunity to Earthquake, because when Magneton comes in to remove that Scar, you versus a physical offense, you don't want them to be able to just click EQ repeatedly and just wear you through, right? Even when you've got a Celebi, if there's spikes up or if it's like HP Bug, Aerodactyl, that kind of thing, you do just want like that extra wiggle room to have more things to switch between, to just sort of like confuse your opponent out of being able to get KOs quickly by just clicking the same move, if that makes sense. So, you know, we can expect to see like a Gengar in the back there, maybe. Would probably be, I think that would probably be my guess. Yeah, that, I mean, if I had to guess straight away, that would probably be a guess. I feel like once you've seen the Drill Peck on the Zapdos, which was revealed before the Toxic as well, we should add, you know, you're less likely to want to switch in that Gengar there. So there's a potential that there's a Gengar in the back that we haven't seen yet. Other than that, other flying types we might not have seen. Maybe something like an Aerodactyl. That would seem kind of janky to me, but it could be. I feel like we probably would have seen a Zapdos by now, considering that there was a Skarmory, and actually Starmie came in to check that. Excuse me. So, yeah, I think as for options there, the last one's going to be some kind of levitating one. Markop tries to predict that with his Rock Slide, and I think it was a relatively good mid-ground as well, because it would have made sure that Tar itself was also in range of a Zapdos T-Bolt and an Aerodactyl Rock Slide, and of course, because there's one layer up, that Tar would have essentially still been dead. It would have been a fine play. Safe and covers a switch really aggressively, which I like. Unfortunately, he's going to miss that Rock Slide, and it's going to put Markop in a pretty poor position here. Going to see Endill go to the Zapdos here. Endill go to the Starmie on the Zapdos. Interesting that he doesn't decide to stay in and Rock Slide. Actually, obviously, does make a lot of sense when you think about it. If his last arrow, he does need to keep that out of range of the Rock Slide there. So we're going to see Rock Slide here into the Zapdos. And that's going to go down. Aerodactyl versus Aerodactyl. And unfortunately, Markop's going to lose that. And that's going to be a shame. But unfortunately, that's the way the cookie crumbled in this position. So yeah, that Rock Slide miss was quite influential. At the same time, there's a good chance it would have come down to a Rock Slide speed tie anyway. Yeah. I suppose one thing that could have happened slightly differently is because that Aerodactyl on Markop's side is at full, he can try and force those turns where, you know, where his Swampert can come in on that Celebi, on the Rock Slide locked Aerodactyl even, sorry, and is able to just attack into the Aerodactyl as Endill switches to the Celebi there, and then protect for a little bit of extra HP to stay out of range of that Rock Slide, and then go straight hard to the Aerodactyl and force that 50-50 where he says, okay, look, I've already revealed HP Bug. You've got an Aerodactyl as well, which I'd like to Rock Slide. So we've got the HP Bug, Rock Slide sort of 50-50 there. Unfortunately, that sort of line of play does get taken out maybe a little bit from Markop there, because Tar is sitting at the back healthy enough. I feel like he kind of has to go for that play there, so then he can then switch out to the Pert on the Rock Slide, try and hit that Tar. And then if he goes to the Celebi, then of course you'd be going to the Aerodactyl, clicking the HP Bug to either Oko the Celebi or Turkey the Tar, and then finishing up with Pert kind of. So yeah, it did kind of take away sort of his safer lines. It's a little bit unfortunate, but equally I think that Endill plays quite well in the sense. Yeah, I mean, it's a pretty nice play to really help to get rid of that Skarmory, and also the Focus Punch on the Swampert was a beastly move. Yeah, and I think it's a relatively good play all around as well. He gets rewarded for with a crit there, which is pretty nice for him. So yeah, definitely. We'll go straight into game two because I think that Callous likes to post these videos as a full series at once. I will try and go a little bit more slowly on this one, so we'll run through it a little bit slowly, a little bit more slowly, try and keep up with all of my thoughts that I have. Okay, so we got lead Medi from Endill. We can already see it starting to focus punch. Markop's done a couple of things. So last time we saw Markop face a lead Medi was versus Altina in SBL, and we saw how that went. Altina went for focus punch turn one. Markop had protect on his T-Tar, and I believe he might have actually pursued it on the switch out. So something like that. Markop essentially had protect on his T-Tar versus a CB Medicham lead, and the Medicham wasn't able to do anything. So we'll see what Endill's able to get out of this sort of lead matchup here. He does go straight for a focus punch, so we'll have to see what this Tar's got. He's actually going to switch straight to a Salamence, and we're going to see what kind of Mence this is. It's going to take 44%, so that's either, well, let's just see whether the Medicham gains leftovers. It doesn't, so looks like a Wish Mence and a CB Medicham. Pretty nice stuff. Awesome double to Zapdos from Endill there. I do really like that. As soon as he sees that it is a Wish Mence, that's a nice move from him. Unfortunately, not able to pull off the baton pass there. I don't think that Markop's the kind of dude to stay in with Skarmory. But yeah, we see that happen. Okay, interesting. Here's another alternative take. Okay, we saw Aerodactyl now, so it's not what I was about to say. I was going to say if this is a Doug, not an Aerodactyl, which we've now seen. Could have been a Vapakuno team, but it's not. So we see Aerodactyl last here, so potentially Wish Mence, potentially CB, Medicham. Yeah, I think for Medicham to be able to do 50% to a Salamence with a CB, it's got to be, yeah, this has got to be Wish, this has got to be CB, I think. Either this is non-CB and this is non-Wish. So we'll see. This is a pause to catch up with all the information we've missed out on there. Sorry. Okay. Thunder Punch on the Metagross. That's going to make me think that it's probably HP Grass, Earthquake or Mash, and then Boom last. And then we got a Meteor Mash on this Metagross. And it did 21% to a Skarmory. So one thing that I would add is that, you know, during SBL, at least when I was on his team, Endill did kind of favor these sort of slightly bulkier Zaps. Benchmarking speed somewhere around between Heracross and Modest Moltres, that kind of sort of range. Sometimes going a little bit higher, sometimes going a little bit lower potentially. Sort of like if you saw Linear Curves team dump after SBL last year, you would have seen those Zapdoses that had a huge amount of HP, Modest, a small amount of Spatak investment as well, some speed for things like Moltres, that kind of thing. I believe he ran them a little bit slower, somewhere around Heracross maybe, I can't remember exactly, but then he'd beef the rest into defenses, so they'd have something like 252 HP, 100 in each defense, so very bulky Zapdoses. So what it could be, max attack Metagross into a bulky Zapdos, could also be a weak Metagross into a not very bulky investor Zapdos, so we'll see. We'll find out. So we see another mash here, and that does actually look quite weak because if it's a mixed gross, it's not going to be running, you know, extra defense. And that Meteor Mash is 18%, not even 20. So it makes me think offensive Zapdos, offensive Metagross, slightly more bulky Metagross here. And I think that would run the right sort of narrative as well with a potential Wish Mence here. So cool team from Markop, very nice and bulky. Also really good into Aerodactyls, which Endill is a fan of, as we know. So yeah, smart team from him. I like it. And obviously Aerodactyl there helps to sort out the issue that you have with Salamence, with Wish Salamence being so weak to special offenses, specifically sort of CM Celebi and CM Jirachi. So yeah, it's a really nice bring from Markop. I like it indeed. And Aerodactyl's good to bring both games into Endill, who's a person who's such a big fan of Zapdogs, of course, as well. We see Metagross take 30% from a T-Bolt there. And it's going to be protecting off the damage. Okay, so even more information here. This Metagross is a Protect Metagross, so as we expected, it is quite bulky, not fully attack invested, baby. But we also see that Zapdos T-Bolt is quite weak. So maybe this is one of those sort of Roro style zaps, or whatever you want to call them. I called them Roro zaps, and people have corrected me before, so, you know, I'll just say sort of Spadef BP zaps. You know, Spadef zap like as if it was rest, but instead of running rest, you're running baton pass. Can be quite effective sets. He's going to go straight back to the Metagross here, and this is an interesting Metagross set. So this kind of Gross set where it's Thunder Punch plus a Grass move plus one of EQ or Mash, it tends to be pretty good at luring in flying types, and then you'll boom on them conventionally, which is quite a nice thing for Medicham, and maybe even if he's running sort of double fighter or something like that, that can be quite nice for that in the back as well. Okay, interesting, relatively crucial turn here. So we know what happens when a Metagross gets really low. They like to click Explosion. So I'm saying it's a relatively pivotal turn because this is a Protect Metagross. This is the faster Metagross. And also, Endill's got a lot of stuff in the back that maybe doesn't necessarily want to be boomed. And the other thing is that if Skarmory is probably the best switch into a boom at this point in the game, right? And you don't want to take a Thunder Punch on the switch with that and then have Endill sitting there like, I get to click another Thunder Punch here, because there's not really a whole lot on that team that really wants to switch into the Thunder Punch, and then you're still going to have to answer to the boom afterwards, if that makes sense. So we'll see what goes on here. Markup's going to click Protect. I think that makes sense. You haven't seen what else is in the back for Endill yet. He could have anything. I mean, Markup himself made a team not long ago, I believe it was, sort of late end of SBL, which had a Medicham and then also an Aerodactyl in the back. And if that was the team, then you definitely want your Metagross still alive. So I get why Markop is probably going to switch here. And I'll see what Endill does. He goes for another EQ. I'm not sure. So personally, I don't really like that EQ. Personally, I think I was going to Thunder Punch there. Just because with this amount of information, there's no way that Markop can choose to let go of his Rock Resist. Just personally. Endill decides to Quake there. He's going to go for a Thunder Punch here. That's a nice move. It does a lot to Skarm. We see why Thunder Punch has use over HP Fire. That's 5% base power. Just, it can really lay the hurt on a Skarmory. You really notice, actually, the extra power a lot of the time, which is nice. Medicham's going to come in here, and there's a DD from the tar. Well, I don't think that CB Medi is healthy enough to eat that. And we're actually going to see Salamence coming in here on that EQ, but Endill's Rock Resists are low. Low, 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 low. And it's not looking good for those Rock Resists at all. Okay, and we actually see... Let me go back, because I actually think I skipped the turn at the wrong time. Okay, so he Earthquakes correctly, which is super nice. And then in comes Mence. And at full HP, Tar just gets to 2 KO this. There's no... I mean, if this... Depending on how bulky this Tar is and what kind of set this Mence is, there's a good chance that Mence can't OHKO the Tar. The only time that I could say that maybe it would be able to is if this is like a DD Grass Tar with minus in defense. And if this was a... like a DD Brick Break Mence, so it was like max attack, adamant, and had Brick Break, which is just, it's a very unlikely scenario to be happening. I also don't think you see sort of like DD Brick Break on this kind of team. Personally, I think that it'd be really good actually with a mixed Mence. Although you do have the Zapdos to sort of fill in that kind of slot, so it could have been DD. You never know. So it could have actually been quite an influential crit in the idea that that Mence maybe he could have even lived and DD'd. So that's one thing to think about for sure. That Rock Slide is going to crit and kill straight up though. So if you're in Endill's position right now, I think that it's not looking great. There's an Aerodactyl on Markop's side. It looks as if your Rock Resist, your main Rock Resist, your lefty's Rock Resist, Metagross is completely gone. Your Medicham is so gone to the point now where it's almost in range of a Rock Slide from Aero straight up. And it's probably about to take... I don't know whether Markop is going to save this. I think going to the Mence probably isn't a bad plan here. Probably pretty safe, pretty nice play to make. And he does in fact do that, yeah. And yeah, it's just going to... Brick Break's just going to bounce off that. Really not do very much at all. And then Dragon Claw is going to finish it off. There we go. So the Medi's going to go on down. Yeah, that's pretty spicy. And here we actually see that the Salamence is quicker than the Zapdos. So I think that does confirm that the Zapdos was very bulky. It might also tell us from the... Also considering the damage from the Dragon Claw there, obviously, Medicham isn't very bulky. So even, you know, sort of a very defensive Salamence might be able to pick up that KO with Dragon Claw there. But I'd also say, you know, Wish Menses in general still like to run quite a lot of speed so that they're sort of not destroyed by SD Heracross and that kind of thing, considering a lot of them run Flamethrower or say Dragon Claw in this position. That's not going to be able to OHKO a Heracross, so in order to be a really good check to them, you are going to want to be a bit quicker. So it could still be a Wishments, although I'm not entirely sure when I see a Dragon Claw there. So I wouldn't trust me on that. I'd have to calc to know. But we see, yeah, I've already stopped once for calcs, so we'll hold it here for the minute. Okay, there's a Curse Lax here, potentially a Curse Lax, sorry. There's a Lax, it could be 4 attacks, it could be Curse Boom. I doubt you'd see Curse Rest here, considering we haven't seen a Magneton or a Spinner. So we do actually see a Focus Punch, which makes me think that it is in fact a 4 attacks Lax, and that actually does 24%, 21% even. Not even enough to take out the Salamence on that range. We see a Brick Break here, and that is actually making me think that it is just some kind of mixed ments. So maybe I was wrong in thinking that that those damage rolls were as they were. We see another Focus Punch here, and we see an Ice Beam from the Blissey. That's an absolute savage play from Marcop. The Mence is going to come on in here. It's going to go straight for a Claw, and then another Claw, and another Claw, and that's going to be the Lax gone. In comes Zapdos, is going to get off another T-Bolt, and that's going to go for a T-Wave, making me think, excuse me, that Endill's last might not be able to beat that Blissey 1v1, or if it can, it's pretty scared to switch into it. Maybe just something that can't switch into an Ice Beam, for example. Something like a CM Varchi with a little bit of hacks, that can always do it. We'll see what Endill's got. Endill's going. Marcop is going to switch to the Skarmory here. I'm not sure if Skarmory is the play to make, as the last is a DD tar from Endill. So this is what I was talking about earlier. Okay, wow, that's spicy. 1 sec. Okay, so clearly we can see that Marcop has the HP fight on his Aerodactyl here. So that's a really nice thing to have there. It just completely stops any chance of that DD tar doing anything in the back there. But earlier what we were talking about as well is just that Metagross staying a little bit healthy, so that it can pivot around a Tyranitar late game. But it doesn't matter, Aerodactyl's going to be there just to completely clean up that T-Tar with that HP fight. So I think that's a really nicely placed HP fight as well from Marcop. Yeah, we've got to assume that that's with like a DD Bug Tar there. That's, I guess, mixed ments. Spikes are pretty good for just sort of forcing Celebi into a bad position anyway, and then yeah, I think that's nice. I think that's really nice. And Metagross obviously is that kind of switch in that you know, these kind of offensive teams with mixed ments don't always have access to versus a Celebi, you know, and allows you to sort of compensate with the HP fight there. It's quite nice. So yeah, really cool teams from Marcop and Endill actually. I really like the Medicham pick there. With the DD Tar last was really cool. Especially, I really liked the Thunder Punch Metagross. That's not something you see all too often nowadays. Yeah, really cool game. I guess we're gonna have to get right into game 3, guys. Yeah, let's get started. Okie dokie. So a T-Tar lead, Zapdos lead. Oh, we've seen this before. Markop's gonna get the lead right into Endill. Bit of analysis going into them, I guess. Marcop tends to favor the bulkier teams. Or at least he did in SBL. He liked those double spinner kind of teams. He did use a couple of Zapdogs, but I don't think that that's necessarily sort of what you would call Markop's standard form, where he's comfortable as such, or whatever you want to call it. I think that he is sort of comfortable with those sort of bulkier, more TSS-y style kind of teams. So I think we'll see potentially one of those from him here. If he just wanted to go with something comfortable that he likes, that'll be decent into Endill. A nice comfortable TSS with a good answer to Zapdog. I think that that's going to be his bread and butter choice here. And Endill here, I really wouldn't be surprised if he goes straight to Zapdog for that game 3. You know, he's quite competent at finessing people with Zapdog. I think that he's good at using it. And he's definitely comfortable and at home using it, more so in the high stakes games. So I think that'd be a good bring for him. The other thing you might see is just, you know, Aerodactyl here again as well. You never know. And that just might look something like Gengar, Skarmory, Tyranitar, Aerodactyl here. So we'll see. We'll see. We see an Earthquake here. It is going to hit a defensive perp, what looks like. It looks like offensive T-Tar, defensive perp. We see a Suicune here. So yeah, so this is quite trademark Marcop looking. Like a Spiker, like Fori or Skarm here. Some kind of spinner, either Fori or Claydol. Raw CM, Surf, Rest, Suicune. That is quite a lot of damage for that Surf, though, so maybe that makes me think there's quite an offensive Zap, maybe. Yep, so we're going to see an Aster Archer here, so you see here, this is the kind of teams that I was looking to play against when I built my team versus Marcop in SBL, where I had a sub-CM raw Suicune. You can see why that would do quite well. If this was an Aster Archer and this was a raw defensive Suicune, it might sort of like sweep these kind of teams straight on its own. We do see what looks like, we pause again here, we've got a Fire Punch Jirachi and a Thunder Jirachi. So both people pinning their potential winnings on a Jirachi sweep by the looks of things. Both of these players sort of looking more towards that. This could also be an Asterachi. It does look quite Asterachi-esque, especially if this is a Sutar, seeing it switch directly in here versus another Jirachi. Yeah, seeing the Fire Punch Jirachi switch out of the Thunder Jirachi, it does kind of make you think, okay, Endill's threatened by a CM setup. And seeing the and you know, because if you had CM and you were the Fire Punch of the Rachis, you might be more tempted to go, okay, well, I usually win this 1v1, and you might want to stay and CM up and start attacking. Instead, Endill's actually going to decide to switch on out there, so that is making me think that it's more of an Asterachi kind of set. Marcop's going to be a bit more conservative with his Jirachi. He takes 31% with that Fire Punch, so it does look like it's a max HP Jirachi. It doesn't look like it's got much sort of special defense investment directly there. So maybe it's a Wish CM. Maybe we could be seeing sort of the classic here. Wish CM, Jirachi, Suicune, Claydol, some kind of Tar, and then some kind of Spadefmon, and then some kind of, you know, mediator defensive / offensive mon. Something that just fills in with all of the slots there. Could be something like a Gengar, for example. Just checks DD ments, able to Wisp Taunt a Blissey to be a bit annoying there, that kind of thing. You never know. We'll see as we go along. Potentially, there's less likelihood of spikes hit, so we'll have to see as well. There's a nice EQ there. Marcop is going to show no fear of a potential counter from that Tar, and that's a pretty nice EQ there. He's going to be able to get off a lot of damage, and he's going to be able to force that Tar out actually there. Unless Endill was to have Protect here, and go for a double protect, I think that would be a pretty poor move. So I guess here we probably see Endill go straight to the Skarmory, and Marcop. Marcop would be pretty. It's difficult to say. EQ is obviously the safe play. Potentially, if you wanted to be aggressive, Suicune and Jirachi are there. So we'll see what both players make. We do see Endill switch to the Skarm, and we just see the safe play from Marcop there. Makes sense to me, just to go for the EQ. We'll probably see a spin reset here. Nice. So Marcop's just going to reset those layers. That Claydol is really low now. We'll probably see Endill set one up on the switch, as he does. Yep. So Marcop just goes for that spin reset there. He doesn't know whether the Skarmory is going to be toxic or Drill Peck yet, or even it could be some crazy Ultina. Both of them kind of Skarmory set. So you don't really know yet. What we do know is that Claydol can just sort of click Rapid Spin there, just in case Endills want to go for another layer, and then he's going to be able to reset and just prevent the 2 layers from going up, which is quite nice. He is going to be punished for that, though. Endill's going to get both of those 50-50 right, and that spike is going to be there to stay. Jirachi is able to come in, though. We'll see what he goes for here. There's the Wish that we're expecting to see. And this is going to give Jirachi an opportunity just to chip that Swampert, I think. Just because it's going to be able to get that Wish coming in here and be nice and healthy and just chip that Swampert a little bit. So we actually see what looks like a slightly defensive Jirachi. It's not fully bold max, otherwise I think the EQ does a little bit less than 45, unless maybe that's a max roll. And so we see 24% into what looks like a bold Suicune. We can assume that that's not an offensive, sort of like physically offensive Swampert of any kind. Not that that's really a set in ADV, obviously. But you know, we can be a bit more sure of the EVs on that Jirachi now. Some kind of bulky Wish CM by the looks of things. We see a rest here from the Suicune, so Marcop's playing the long game. We can only assume that he's got a proper Spadefmon in the back. We do see a Blissey come in here, okie dokie. So, and we're going to see a Roar here from what I believe we saw earlier from that Surf damage from the bold Suicune. Must be a more offensive Zapdos. We're going to see a Wish here go up from the Jirachi. And another Psychic, and he's going to get a crit there. And that's actually really unfortunate for Endill, because... Oh, wow. Okay, so that's a big turn. So we see the crit here, which is about to say very unfortunate for Endill because it probably had more than one switch in left on that Jirachi, right? If it's able to get in at the right time, quite threatening with that EQ. But then we see it directly freeze the win condition Jirachi back. So that's pretty massive, guys. Especially when the T-Tar was so low. The Pert was getting really low. The Skarm is in range of Thunder. This Asterachi wasn't going to be able to stop it, most likely. The Zapdos in range of a +2 Psychic / +2 Thunder. Not looking ideal for Endill versus the Jirachi, but then he's going to get that freeze. So, yeah. Of course, with these teams, you can often see a Heal Bell Blissey. So when I ran this sort of style of team in CI play-ins, I used it versus Cyber Odin. I believe my one might have been Sandless, but I had a Jirachi, Suicune, Claydol, Blissey, and then I believe I had Skarmory and Gengar on mine. So slightly different from what Markop's running at the moment, but similar basis where you're using a spinner and then the two fat CMers, just basically trying to wear through Spike's teams nice and quickly whilst being defensively sound. Or, well, not nice and quickly, but you get the idea. You're trying to wear through them whilst being defensively sound. And I did, in fact, run Heal Bell myself on that because it's really nice to have for the Jirachi and for the rest Suicunes. So I wonder if we might have that here. We see a Salamence last for Markop. Okay, I like that. That's really nice here. It gives you that sort of... yeah, it gives you a little bit of extra sponging versus rock types, just to have that intimidate. Yeah, that's nice, and especially when you've already got sand for things like Snorlax, you don't need something like a Gengar, and something like a Mixed Mence, or even just a CB Mence, maybe even on this kind of team, could be. It does look like a Mixed Mence, but any kind of Mence can be quite useful on this kind of team. We're going to see Mixed Mence Fire Blast there, and we're going to see it into a Gengar. So, yep, so, looking at both teams now, interesting for sure. Endill's team does look like it's quite difficult for Endill to push past Blissey, actually. And another thing that we've noticed also is that Drill Peck Toxic on this Skarmory. Either it's got no Roar on the Skarmory, which is going to be really, really bad versus Suicune and Jirachi, in terms of just sort of trying to prevent them from sweeping, or it's going to be no Protect, and that means that it's going to find it really difficult to actually get all three of those layers up and staying up. Where's it really going to be switching in? It's going to be taking a lot of damage when it comes in, and it's not going to be able to heal that off with those Protects. So, yeah, we're going to see how it goes on. Obviously, it is still healthy enough that it can quite easily get a wish from the Jirachi as well. So it swings and roundabouts here. Gengar's going to take, obviously, quite a lot. How much did we see it take? We took 43 from Fire Blast. So this is also a Spadef Gengar, so we've got that to play into. Another thing to consider is how weak Endill's team generally is to special offenses. So when you're looking at a team like that, there are things that you consider on the Gengar. Now, I haven't seen Endill run these kind of things before, but when I ran teams that were really weak to Spadef, special offenses in CALLOUS Invitational, I used a lot of Destiny Bond Gengars on teams that were weak. I used the team that I used Game 2 versus C in CALLOUS Invitational play-ins this year. That was with Breloom and an Asterachi, and I believe I had Drill Peck Zapdos. So it was relatively weak all around to sort of things like CM Jirachi, that kind of thing. CM Celebi obviously can get in pretty safely on a Breloom. After obviously the spore's gone off, and once there's sort of some mind games surrounding Focus Punch that you might not want to use it, CM Celebi can be a threat. So and same with CM Jirachi, of course. So having Destiny Bond on a Gengar on a team with a Jirachi can be really, really useful. So maybe we'll see if Endill has something like that. We see a Willow blank into the Jirachi here, and if it's a defensive Gengar, it's not going to be doing a whole lot to that Jirachi anyway. We see actually Blissey's going to double in here, and I think this is where we're going to see a Heal Bell if he's got one. We do actually see, yep, so there's Aromatherapy. That's going to be able to heal off. So the Suicune is now fully rested. I don't know whether it had rested. It had rested. I don't know if it was that close to waking up. But that's now healed off, and so is the freeze on the Jirachi. So yeah, that puts Markop in quite a nice position in regards to where his sweepers sit, but maybe not in the best to trying to prevent spikes, with the 2 layers up now and that Claydol looking really low. Endill plays that Skarm really nicely there. He's able to get HP back and an extra layer up, and I do really like that from him. As we see a Toxic here, that's pretty much going to confirm Asterachi completely there. We see a Wish. I don't know how much I like that. I think Thunder's going to come down here for sure. Actually, Markup's going to go for a CM, so I stand corrected. We see the Thunder there. It is going to hit. No power. And we're going to see a Fire Blast from Endill. And I've seen this repeatedly throughout this tour where people consistently refuse to run raw on their pursuit tars. I do think that that's something of a necessity on Spike's teams at the moment. I said this on a stream earlier with HClap when we were watching Mana versus Zomog. They both used fat teams a couple of times. I do think that raw on Tyranitar is really useful actually for stopping these really fat Jirachis at the moment. We see the Fire Blast there. We see a Wish go up. Yeah, and there's nothing that Tyranitar can do. It's not even 2 KOing that Jirachi with Fire Blast, and it's only got 6 PP left. There's the Thunder. It's going to paralyze as well. That's just insult to injury there. No chance of a crit, no chance of a burn. And then there's another Thunder. So I guess we'll see here if Gengar's going to come in and have anything. Yeah, that's not it. He's going to try and dodge with the Scarm. Doesn't get it. Obviously, guys, as you probably know, happened in SBL. Altina missed a +6 Thunder onto a Suicune and lost a game like that. It does happen, guys. Personally, I'm a T-Bolt user. But yeah, we see in the chat, these guys talking about, potentially trying to dodge that Thunder. It doesn't work out. Endill going to go for a burn here. I'm not sure if that's your best play. I think you just go for another raw with the... Oh, no. Zapdos just gets psychic. Sorry, yeah. There's a crit. That's really unfortunate for Endill because he's not even going to be able to get that burn / crit through the other Jirachi now. And there's some more CMs. I guess we see a Wish here from Endill. Yep, we do. Fire Punch here as he CMs again. Okay. Well, I got that wrong and I would have lost. But there you go. Yep, there's another Thunder. And another Thunder. 57% good lord. There's a Wish and there's a Protect. Here's the CM for sure. Yep. Marcop just realizing that he might need to get to +6 to be able to reliably take out that Jirachi. Oh, sorry, my bad. We zoomed out just a little bit there. And it's not going to let me reset. Okay, so try and fix my laptop. Okay, I think we're stuck here, guys. Stuck. Okay, we fixed it. Sorry about that, guys. Disturbing your immersion. We're back. Okay. Yeah, so +6 Jirachi. Doesn't look like there's a whole lot that Endill can do at this point, apart from hope that he can dodge all of those Thunders. Even if he can, Spadef drops exist as well. That does look like what Marcop's going for. He wants a Spadef drop so that he can make those Thunders count and just Oko the Jirachi straight up with it. Which makes sense to me. And there's the Spadef drop, so yep, so Endill's going to go for another Fire Punch Bird. Very unlucky not to get it there. He has actually fished a good couple of times now. But yeah, and there's a Psychic. Endill trying to predict a Thunder there. Unfortunately not able to. Thunder missed there. So down to 3 Thunders now. If he can stall out the rest of them, he's in a good position. You see a Protect, and he's actually going to blank into a Psychic. So obviously, what at this point I'm kind of saying, I guess, is that Psychic is a blank and a Thunder hit on the non-Protect. That's going to be a win, I guess. Yeah. It's looking pretty spicy at this point. I'm not sure there's a whole lot that Endill can do apart from try and stall out the rest of that PP. There's a crit and Spadef drop in 1 and a full paralysis. Wow, okay. That's a lot for Endill to have to deal with just as he was really close to PP stalling it. He's going to be able to avoid another Thunder there. He's going to go to the Zapdos, and that's going to finish off all of Thunder's PP. But I think it's a bit too late now. I think that, yep, so Claydol comes on in here, gets a Wish, insult to injury again, because it looks like that can just clean up. It is going to Earthquake here into the Celebi. It is going to take a Toxic. Going to Earthquake into the Gengar. Endill playing this quite well. He's going to take an Earthquake there. I think that's looking like the end. And then straight back to the Gengar again. Nice. Ice Punch finishes off the Claydol. At least he keeps his spikes, guys. Yeah. In comes the Blissey. I think it just gets to click Ice Beam here a bunch of times. Kill the Gengar. Yeah, Endill going for the freeze. Makes sense. That's unfortunate for the freeze to go the other way. Seems that Marcop was destined to win the series. But yeah, I really actually do appreciate Endill mixing up his team's choices. I think it's smart not to bring Zapdug a bunch of times. I think that Marcop was relatively ready for it. At least game 1 and game 2 had Aero both times. If you'd brought Zapdug into that, you would have been in a pretty rough spot. This game 3 here, Marcop's just going to bring a nice safe team, and I think he gets rewarded for that safety with a nice good matchup here as well. But But yeah, well played to both players. It was actually a really entertaining series to watch. I enjoyed sort of thinking into the background a little bit as well in terms of sort of what both players might use here. We saw Markop, just sort of dominate with his really, with sort of his enjoyment of those bulkier, fatter teams, and makes really good use of just sort of Claydol and bulky Jirachi, bulky Suicune as well. Yeah, and we got to also see Endill play an Aerodactyl team really quite well as well, which was nice as well. So yeah, great games from both players. I look forward to seeing both of these players actually in the next round because this was a winners bracket game. So we'll see Endill in the next round, probably playing in the losers bracket versus someone. Um, so looking forward to seeing more games from him, definitely. And then also here from Markop, we will see in the winners bracket, not next round, that will just be a losers bracket round, I believe. But then after that, certainly we'll be seeing another game from Markop versus somebody. So that's definitely exciting to see. This is quite a deep run for Markop as well. So a lot of times people have said, things where they've been like, oh, Markop doesn't make late rounds in best of 3 formats, that kind of thing. Well, guys, this is a pretty late run. This is going to be what, round 6 is the next one? Is that right? So that'd be very late round for Markop compared to his other CALLOUS Invitational runs. And we'll be excited to see if he can make it to the end here. There's some great players left, so best of luck to both Endill and Markop going forward. And we'll see all of you guys later, hopefully, for another narration, hopefully soon. Okie dokie, guys.